Hi everyone and welcome along to Sonic Academy with me, Chris. Today we're joined by a guy who I think has produced one of the best albums in the last few years. It's none other than Guy Mantzur from his studio in Tel Aviv. Hi Guy, you there?
Yes, Chris, how are you?
I'm very good. Thank you very much for taking time to join us today in Sonic Academy. I am in love with the album. Has the response been quite phenomenal for yourself?
Yeah, I had like a really good response about the album, and what I liked about the response is that a lot of them was, not only from the club side, it was also from people that just sit in their houses and connected to the music in a different way. So it's really good to hear.
I think that's one of the things that struck me about the album is I have been listening to it in the car. I've got two young kids, and on the way to school, they get to hear it, and it is such. It feels like a classic album to me. Is that something that just happened, or is it something you actually was that the vision for the album?
For me personally, because the reason that I'm coming to this music, from songwriting and playing like live instruments, piano, guitar, so it's really important for me the artistic side of making music. To put a lot of music inside the music, even though it's like club music and dance. So even if I did it on purpose, but it's something that it's really deep inside me. So it came out like this, I think.
Guy, let's go back to the early days. You grew up in Tel Aviv, a city known probably like where we're from here in Belfast for its conflict, but also that bred its dance scene. Can you tell me a bit about how you got into the club scene in Tel Aviv, and you were resident in one of the most popular clubs in the city, the Cat and the Dog?
Yes. Basically, it started like for me, the dance scene was started like really long time ago, like I think even more than 17 years ago, something like this.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the days, the club scene was really, really huge, even more bigger than today, because they had like permission to do a lot of open air parties on the beach, and they were doing like every weekend, like maybe 10K party, like, and with all the big names of that time, all the global underground guys and everything. So it made like a really big influence of me as a musician, and I saw the vibes and the energy. It was like every night and party was like a rock concert or something like this. So it's something that got like really deep inside me, and I started to follow this sound and love it. And I developed myself into it, with the music.
What years is this? In the late 90s? Is this sort of DJs like Sasha, Digweed? Who were the big influencers on your early career?
For me, Sasha and Digweed and Nick Warren back in the days, and from the other side, even Laurent Garnier from the more techno side, and even from the soulful house like Little Louis Vega back in the old days, and Frankie Knuckles, like all of these people used to come here like every 3-4 months. So I used to listen to a lot of different kind of music. So everything was like an influence for me.
And when did you take then? Were you a DJ first and then a producer, or were you a producer and then a DJ, or was it both sort of? Did they both?
I was starting not as a DJ and not as a producer, as a really 100% musician.
Right.
And then I started to write songs and lyrics a lot, and then I started to do like more chill out stuff. And with the chill out and lounge stuff, I started to DJ as well, to do some live shows and then DJing with it. But really, I was like musician, like I think maybe 12 or 15 years before I even, played one time in my life.
And so what was the transition? Was there a particular record that sort of transitioned you from your heart being a musician into this electronic dance music world that you thought, right, it's club music I want to make?
Yeah, it was like I remember the first release that I had. Like I have a label named Plattenbank, and the label's first release was like a track named City Lights, and it was like my original with a remix of Shlomi Aber. It was like really long time ago. It came out on vinyl as well, and I think from that point I started to focus more and more in electronic music. From that point.
And how long have you? When did this record come out? How long have you been producing in the sort of the electronic scene?
This record, I'm focusing in this kind of music about 10, 12 years.
10, 12 years. Let us talk a little bit about your label. It's based in Munich, am I correct? At Plattenbank. What's
Yes.
what's the ethos of the label? What makes you sign a record and put it out?
First of all, the name Plattenbank, it's a record shop in German.
Right.
It was like back in the days. It was like one of the biggest record shops in Munich, and my partner was the owner of this record shop. And for me, as a A&R of the label, I'm looking for tracks that I will love them myself and will really want to play them. I most of the tracks that I signed to my label, I play them all the time in my sets. I think this is the best test for a dance music, for a label owner to test the music live on the audience.
But this is one thing I was really keen to ask you about is your sound. Is that I'm really struggling to pin down what your sound is. It's not techno, it's not house, it's not progressive, like classic progressive. How would you describe it?
For me, it's like yourself. I can't describe it. It's like, for me, it's good music.
Yeah.
Good music that it's interesting, it's unique, and it's working really good on the club. That's the only definition. It could be, some people can call it deep house, some people techno, some people progressive. For me, it's only, good music that's working really good in the club.
And I came across this album. A few friends on Facebook. I must give a shout out to Dewey Roberts for putting me in touch with this album. I started listening to it just before Christmas, and it is just something I keep going back to. I played it to the guys here in the studio when we were setting up, and they said it was like a classic sort of. It was like listening to a Renaissance album from Anthony Papa or Ian Ossia, one of those really classic, timeless pieces. And how do you approach that sound? Are you listening to those sort of records? Are you going back and referencing the old progressive sound from the UK?
I was listening to it back in the days a lot, but to be honest, I didn't listen to it for years now.
Yeah.
But I'm listening to all the new stuff that's coming out, like the new Hernan Cattaneo balance and the Guy J balance, which I think is a masterpiece as well. And the Guy J's album, it's the latest thing of progressive that I really connect and love. So maybe this is like the latest, influence. But really, I think that the whole sound of the album, it's something that it's like really deep inside me, and it's just just let it go when I'm in the studio.
So let's start getting into the nitty-gritties about your production and how the album was produced. Let's start with the first question. What DAW do you use?
What? Sorry?
So what digital audio workstation, DAW, do you use? Ableton, Logic?
No, I'm using Cubase.
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 What's your sort of go-to plugins? What's the thing that you keep? I have to have this in my tracks.
Okay, so I have like I'm using like a lot in the Cubase plugins, like the compressor, the reverb, and the compressor and the delay, and the sidechain, and the Cubase have also really good envelope shaper, which I really love, and from the other side, I'm using a lot of wave audio.
Okay.
Yeah, like really good compressors and delays. The edge delay is really good. And I'm using like the alt acoustic reverb.
Yes.
Which I love it a lot. And This is the digital.
Can I talk to you about your drums? They really are the backbone of a lot of your work. Do you use battery, or are you putting audio on the timeline, or how are you building up those really great grooves that you've got?
I like with the audio, really with the drums.
Mm-hmm.
I to be honest, I really think that I know to do like way more. I way more better in effects and melodies than in drums.
All right.
But I can do the drums,
Yeah.
But it needs I need to work a lot for doing the drums. For me to find the right melody or the right sound, it comes like easy. But to program a drum, sometimes it takes like really way much more time.
And is that one of your least favorite things when it comes to the drums? You're a bit like, oh, I have to do I just want to write melodies.
Yeah, it's like something that I feel like, I want to finish the groove so it will sound good. Then I can do the rest. When I have like the groove, so I know that I have the good basics, so I can start mess around and playing with the music.
And do you start with the groove? Is it you start with the melody and chords and then work back with the groove?
I don't have rules. I can start sometimes with a loop, with a kick. I can start sometimes only with a melody that I have in my head, and then put another synth, and then start to put a groove on it. I found myself working every time in a different way and with a different samples. I don't keep like a lot of my samples. I do to try new stuff all the time.
Playing in the background at the moment is Small Heart Attack.
Yes.
I love the sort of the clave that you've got going, that little wood block percussion sound you've got going.
Yeah.
Is that a sample or where's that from?
It's from the machine.
Mm-hmm.
The machine which is a really really good drum machine that I love. I use it a lot, and it's a club.
Who makes the machine?
Clubs. Native Instruments.
Okay, right. Oh, from
it's
machine.
Really,
okay,
really
so are you programming on machine?
Yeah, programming a lot with the machine. I'm working with it a lot.
And how do you find
really
that? Good. How do you find that workflow? Is it? I mean, that's a kind of tactile, pushing buttons. Do you find that more interesting as a musician?
Yeah, sometimes it can be like really, you can really feel the groove. You put a sound and you can really feel the groove. You can play on it.
Right.
And it's something that it's really helped me, to bring, the shuffle and the offbeat that I like.
And this album was written with Sahar Z. Is that this has been a long time collaboration? How did that come about?
Sahar is a really really good friend of mine. We made a lot of records together, mm-hmm. and basically this album was supposed to be a 5 tracks EP.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't supposed to be an album. We planned to do an EP of 5 tracks for Lost and Found for Guy J.
Mm-hmm.
And then we started working on it, and the process was so interesting, and we felt suddenly that we have so much things to say and so much music in our head that we want to put out. So we talked to Guy. We told him, okay, we made already 4, but we want to make another 20 because we're working for years and years together, and we have now an option to do something bigger together. Mm-hmm. So we talked about it with Guy, and he said, okay, let's do the album. And this is how it came out.
And what sort of strengths and weaknesses do you have? Obviously you do melodies and programming. Is he better at drums, or does he come at it from a different perspective than yourself?
No, basically we know we know the same stuff. We have there is no one guy that knows one thing and the other knows the other thing.
Okay.
The thing with Sahar, which I like, that he is coming way more from a DJ side. He was a DJ really really long time ago. So he something. He knows sometimes what he wants to hear, and we can search, and when we hear it, he said, okay, this is what we need to hear, So
let's start talking about some plugins that you probably use in the studio. You've mentioned you use Cubase, you use Machine. What other like synths do you use? Is it Massive?
I use except of the the wave and the out acoustic and native instruments, and sometimes I use battery. I use Omnisphere, but my main setup is like it's like an analog synth of Dave Smith.
Right.
The brand Dave Smith.
Yeah.
The name is Poly Evolver.
Yeah.
And it's really analog synth, and for me it's really amazing because you can do like almost everything with it, and it gives like the music like another dimension. It sounds really good. And from the other side, I have the Moog Slim Fatty, which is also really good for bass lining, arpeggiators. And I have the Virus TI, which it's more for the digital sound and for some if you want some warm pads, or let's say the bass line of Small Art Attack. So it's all like Virus, the bass line with the synths, the changing with the filters. And so this is the synths that I'm using, the outsourced synths. And I have also some guitar pedals, because I used to be a guitar player, so I have like guitar pedals connected with the cables. So I have like envelope, I have a distortion, and I have an amazing guitar called Eventide.
Yeah.
So I have the Eventide, which is like a multi-effect pedal of like 5 effects in one.
Yeah.
This one is, who recommended me about it, Robert Babitz.
Yeah, yes. We've had him
He's
on.
working with it a lot, and I heard him like talking about it. He told me you must buy it, so I bought it like 1.5 years ago, and it's amazing.
And do you try and get a bit of do you play guitar through these pedals and try and always get a bit of guitar onto the track somewhere?
No, I don't play guitar in my tracks. Okay. I play like the synths, the analog synths. I use it.
Okay, so you put all the synths, patch them through, and you're very much...
the synths, the drums sometimes.
Right. You're very much out of the box then. You haven't mentioned any plugins. You've mentioned the Dave Smith, the Sub Fatty, the Eventide stuff. So is there any internal plugins that you use?
Plugins? I use the Omnisphere.
Yeah. And is that
I like the Autoria, the pack of Autoria. They have like the Mini Moog, the Jupiter. So these have also really, really good sounds.
Cool. Let's talk a bit about vocals. Again, back to that track. To me, it's a standout track on the album, the Small Heart Attack. How do you go about? Do you write vocals, or do you bring in vocalists that can write? How does that process work for you?
No, I write everything. Like with Small Art Attack, I wrote like the lyrics and the music, and it was like a song way before it was like we even started to work on the production. It was like the whole song. I wrote it on the on the keyboards, and then we put it on the Cubase, started working on it.
And that, I think, does that appear at the end of the album, that acoustic version, is that correct?
Yes, there is the acoustic version and the album other version.
Okay. And when you're writing, do you sit at a piano, or you're in the shower, do you have a melody in your head, or when you arrive at your computer and power it up, is it completely, do you mess about until you find something that you kind of like, or how do you start a project, how do you start a new song?
When I'm writing a song, so I'm for me it's like going back to my roots, because I was like, I remember myself as a teenage boy sitting in my parents' house in my dark room and writing songs with the guitar and on the piano, and I have the same piano that I was that I bought, like my parents bought me when I was 6, so I have the same piano in my studio. Brilliant. And when I want to write songs, I'm going to this piano and just sitting there and connected to the past.
Brilliant. Tell me a bit about, you've done quite a few collabs with various people, and another big record that you've had this year is Sad Robot with a guy that I'm interviewing later on, Nick Warren. Can you tell me about how do you for a guy in Tel Aviv, how do you get those sort of external connections going? How do you get collabs going? Is probably a lot of people on the site would love to know.
Yes. So with Nick, it's like, you know, I know Nick for a few years now, and we had a chance, you know, to meet up in some parties, to play together here in Tel Aviv and in some other places in the world. And we have some kind of a bond between us because we really like each other's sets and each other's music. And we talked about it like for a really long time. And then we found like a time to say, okay, this is what we want to do. And with Said Robot, he started something and he sent it over. And then I started to work on the idea and send it. We did it like mostly online. But we know, because we know each other for such a long time and we know each other's taste, so we know what I knew when I was working on it, you know, what Nick will love and what not. So this is how.
And you've worked with various other people. How do you? I'm always interested in the actual physical mechanics when people are on Ableton or Logic and you're on Cubase and you're in Tel Aviv. How do you do WAV files in Dropbox, or can you work on other systems, or how does it actually work physically?
It works like when like, let's say now, I will tell you a little secret. Now I'm working on a track, on a collaboration EP with the Agents of Time. You know them?
Yeah.
Agents of Time.
Right.
And they're working with Logic.
Yeah.
So there is no other option to share the session. So they just render, you know, just audio files, send me a Dropbox link, and I'm opening all the audio files and, you know, starting to work on it myself. But this is the way.
And does it bother you working with loads of audio files, or is it something you've just got used to and you can now just chop things up and move things about on the timeline and stuff? Is it something you're comfortable with doing?
To be honest, I prefer to work, you know, on a proper Cubase session, not like a big audio files, because I can, you know, I see the whole picture in a really bright and a good way. But I manage, you know, because I'm doing it for long years with the remixes and stuff. So I manage it also, you know. I cut the things that I don't like, that I think that they are like they are not useful for my idea, and then I like manage it in a way that I will have like more easy way to work.
Let's talk a bit about sound design. Is it something that you really are passionate about, or is it something that is secondary to the actual songwriting process? Is it a necessary evil, so to speak?
The sound design is something that you know, no one can ignore, especially in these days, because the sound systems and they are really, really, really good. Even the sound, you know, in our iPhones with the headphones, it's like really, really good sound. The quality is like really good. So you cannot ignore it. You must, you know, be in a top line from sound-wise. For me, I know that I'm not like the best sound designer, but I managed to do things in a way that sounds like warm and clear and will work good in the club. And for this music, I think that this is the most three important things.
But how do you approach getting that clean sound? Is it lots when you're excuse me, when you're working on the Dave Smith? Once you get a sound, do you record that into Cubase and kind of lock it off, print it to tape, so to speak? Is it?
When I'm working, like let's say for example, when I'm looking for sound. When I'm looking for sound in the Dave Smith, okay? Let's say that I have like the session and I want to record like a pad that will, you know, make like kind of a lead on the track. So the most important thing for me is like to find the sound that it's already sitting good in the mix without doing nothing, like without doing like compression, without sidechain, and without putting any reverb or something. If this like a basic sound is going really, really good inside the mix, so you almost more than halfway there. Then if you put like some reverb and sidechain and compression, so it will sound like even way much better. But all the pickup, the picking of the sounds is really important. Even with the drums, with the pads, it doesn't matter. If it sits in the mix, so this is your sound.
Is this? How do you approach then your mix downs? Your mix downs are very solid. They're just right, and there's not too much. There's not loads of effects going on. There's not loads of side chaining. It just. We talked to Steve Duda last week, and he talked about, getting compressions to ebb and flow, and I get that from your mix downs. How do you approach what sort of? Do you try? You've mentioned you keep everything. You try and get the sound design right before you have to add loads of effects. So, do you use effects very sparingly, or how do you approach compression?
Basically, I don't have like one way to do it, but I can tell you that I have like with the effects and everything, I programmed myself. Through the years, I made myself like few setups, okay, for my effects, for the external, for the FX channel. So I have like, let's say for example, I have one, like it's like of a chain of 4 or 5 effects that I call it like Pink Floyd delays.
Yeah.
And I put it almost in every track that I'm making. I can put it on keyboards, I can put it on snares, I can put it on vocals, and it's like a chain of effects.
And what's in that chain?
In this specific Pink Floyd, I call it Pink Floyd delay because it's like the delays that David Gilmour used for this guitar. It's like HD delay, it's like stereo imager, it's a reverb out acoustic, EQ, and sidechain to the kick. So let's say, for example, I can open like there is like the vocal that's running, and I can open the short delay like really fast on the vocal, so you can hear the effects, and then the kick will do like a sidechain to the delay, and it's making like something like really really unique effects, and you can do it like on few things. And if you have like a break, so you can put it like on the vocal and on the snare and on the pad. And then when everything is coming, the kick is coming again, so it's like making like a wall, to the delay, and it's bringing like really, really cool effects. So this is the kind of the change that I have in my studio.
And do you try and feed quite a few things through that effect to give it a sense of cohesiveness, to make it feel all together? Yeah.
Exactly.
That's cool. And is it the delay you're using? Is it the H delay from Waves?
It can be the H delay, and it can be the for this specific FX chain. I'm using the Cubase delay.
Okay, cool.
The ping pong delay.
Okay, let's talk a bit about your mastering chain. What's on your mastering chain? Are you an SSL type of guy, or what sort of compressors? What chain do you use?
Basically, I don't do the mastering to myself. I have like a programmer that doing the mastering for me. Because I found out that there are people that really really knows how to handle mastering. That are really really professional in it. And sometimes it's something that I recommend to each and every musician that asking me to send the music to an outsource, mastering guy that is like natural. It's only thinking about the sound, is not emotional about specific, tam-tam or snare or something like this. So I have my own like mastering guy. It's really, really amazing. It's called Irresistible Mastering, and he's making it like a lot of analog with tapes. Really, really good.
And so you don't have anything then on your mix bus? Do you have any kind of multi-band compressors, EQs, nothing like that?
Yes, I have a lot of multi-band. I have the SSL of Waves, all the SSL. I have all the L3 of Waves as well.
But you're not pushing really hard into those compressors then? You're just sort of using them to level everything off and kind of just clean the mix up?
Yes.
So you wouldn't ever make a track with those on? Do you make the track and then apply them, or do you apply them first and then start building the track so you get a sense of what it will sound like?
You know, back in the days, I had like maybe 2 or 3 years that I was making like all of my tracks with a compressor, the master, with like a chain of a compressor and EQ a little bit. Like I used to make the track with kind of mastering, and some of them came good, you know. But I found out that it's better to make the track in a lower volume, like -8 dB. You know, to keep things like really, really cool, and then to make a lot of space to the mastering process when you finish the track. So in this case, you have a lot of, you know, free space to upload things and bring them like to maximize things in the best way, not to push.
So let's move on to you're DJing quite a bit nowadays. What's your DJ setup? Are you Tractor or are you pen drives on Nexus? What do you work?
So I have like 2 ways of DJing. When I'm coming, you know, more as a DJ, so I'm doing like a Tractor, 4 channels, and sometimes I'm doing also live when I'm playing Ableton.
Right.
It depends in the place, you know. There are a lot of places that I prefer to do live, but there are other places that I don't really know what will be, so I prefer, you know, to use my digital skills to see the room and just do my thing, you know.
And when you say live with Ableton, are you bringing out keyboards and triggering sounds live, or are you...
Yeah, no, I bring it like the iPad, with a lot of keyboards and effects and this kind of stuff, and I have like the controller of Evolution, which have like a mixer with 8 channels and a lot of and I'm playing like between 7 to 8 channels, you know, in one time. Like a lot of live instruments, a lot of you know, separated samples that I did in my studio.
And is it important for you as a musician to have that sort of performance element to your sets?
Yes, I have a feeling, you know, because these days almost everyone, you know, can go, you know, to the store and buy, you know, a Tractor and started to be a DJ, and some of them doing it like really good, you know, because the music is out there, is in Beatport and Juno, you can find amazing music. So if you have like talent, you can do it good. So I thought to myself that as a, you know, artist and musician, it's good to make like to bring something, you know, something different, you know, than only DJing. Other value for the performance.
Brilliant. So now the album's out, and it's had a bit of time. What is next for the rest of 2015 for yourself?
Just now, today, I just finished a remix to Robert Babbitt's.
Right. Cool.
Yes. He just now is working the master. He just sent me a message, and it will be out like in 2 months in his label, Babbitt Style, and I have like a release on my label of Guy J with a remix I did as well. I have a remix I did for Mark Romboy, you know, Systematic, his label.
Yeah.
Will be released in August. I have a collaboration EP with Hernan Cattaneo as well, and I'm working on the original of Me Alone from my label as well. I'm working a lot.
So a bit busy. And what about any DJing in between that? Where can people catch you over the summer?
Yeah, DJing. I have like basically almost like every week. Every weekend I'm traveling. Like I'm going like the day after tomorrow. I'm going like for a tour in Russia, and then straight from there I'm going to a tour in Argentina of 10 days. And then I'm going to do some more, you know, Europe things. Like I have Ministry of Sound London.
Very
I have Amsterdam, Cologne, these places.
And how do you feel about the scene at the moment? Do you think it's in a good place, a bad place? Is it healthy, underground? What are your views?
About the scene, about the scene in
general.
in general.
Yeah.
So the thing, the thing with the music scene, that it's like this, it's up, down, always, it has been like this, and it will stay like this. The only thing that now is like really, really was up, it's like the EDM.
Yeah.
And I think that it's for the more mature people and the more intelligent people, it started to go like a little bit less and less. So it makes space more and more to the underground. I can feel it really strong in the US. So in the US, the EDM became really, really strong in the last 3 years. And now, in the last 1 year or 1.5 years, like our sound and our kind of music started to be like more and more popular, because the people like getting, older, and they want to hear something, a little bit more, easygoing and a little bit more intelligent than the boom boom and all the beeps. And so it's really good. I think the scene is now, it's going to a good place, and it's a lot of this is because of the EDM. Because the EDM like make a lot of space, to electronic music, but people can't hear EDM for forever,
Yeah. Those EDM kids that were into it 3 years ago are growing up, and probably their tastes are maturing, and they just want to get something a bit deeper and a bit more responsive.
Exactly.
Guy, thank you so much for joining us today on Sonic Academy. It's been a real pleasure. I absolutely adore the album. I beg everybody to go and listen to it and study Time. It's a great classic piece of work. Thank you very much for joining us on Sonic Academy today.
Thank you very much, Chris.
Listen,
thank you very much.
Guys, hope he's got something from that. Thank you to Guy for joining us and taking time out of his busy schedule. Hope to hear a lot of new remixes and tracks from him over this summer, coming months, and we'll see you all very, very soon.